what is your background like in this, and like how did you get involved with the phenomena in general? Because your theory is so fascinating, but just like anybody in this field, right? Like, oh, what got him interested in this?
Okay, so the story is this. So I in the beginning, in my 20s, I had no interest in the paranormal or UFOs or anything like that. I was just I was this IT guy, just making a fair bit of money, enjoying myself, and it wasn't until I actually went down to the local pub. I was actually sitting outside. We have like a little social club, and we're sitting on the swing waiting for the pub to open. It was like 7 o'clock in the evening, and I just happened to look across the field, and there was this monk standing there in the middle of the field, literally by 20 feet away from me. And I actually thought it was a guy who was just, messing about. So I just started shouting abuse at him, mostly just shouting at him, saying, what are you doing? But he just stood there like a statue. It looked like a grey statue standing there in the middle of the field, about 20 feet away from me. And yeah, you could see all the details. A monk, and he had like his hood up around it. And so this went on for like two or 3 minutes. So I found I had like a laser pointer in my pocket, and I put the laser on the ground, shot it off the ground, up his leg, on his chest, into his face, just to kind of get some reaction out of him. And there was none. It was just like, but the laser reflected. It was there, physically there. And I got the laser beam right in his face, and all you saw was like a black mass. And the laser beam itself was reflecting, but it was like half the brightness that it was normally. And so this was really strange for me. And, from being like an IT guy who just saw things in black and white, I'd never seen anything like this before. So after kind of like rattling him with the laser for a bit, I just stood up and started walking towards him to see if we get a closer look. And I got within about maybe 10, 15 feet of it, and he just disappeared, dissipated into the background. And it kind of took me by surprise, because I'd never seen anything like that. And with that, I kind of felt a little bit uneasy, and I just walked away, and I actually went into the pub to sort of chill out a bit, And I just said to the locals, I said, I thought I just saw like a monk or something across the field. I didn't really make a big deal of it. And they went, oh, yeah, that's the mad monk. He haunts here. And I was like, what? I never heard this story in my life, and I'd lived there all my life. And I'd never seen him before or since. So it's just that one time I saw it. And that kind of like woke my brain up a bit. So I was like really, it kind of intrigued me, like what I saw and got so close to for so long. And I was like, okay. And he just kept bugging me. And as I was growing up, it just kept bugging me. And then, so I started watching all the mainstream paranormal TV shows, and none of it gelled with me. None of it made any sense. It's like all the mainstream, you think, were the dead people who come back and haunt buildings and throw things around and make noises, scratches. Yeah. And then at the end of the night, they find nothing, and it just carries on and on and on. None of it made any sense. The descriptions, the ideas they had made no sense to me at all. So, but I kept watching it just to see what they were seeing. And I started noticing there were certain patterns and certain things that they kept on seeing. But beyond that, I was just like, this doesn't make any sense to me. So, and it got to a point, I moved away and I went to London, and I kind of got more into IT. And I now work in databases, and I basically am a database developer, Postgres and SQL databases and stuff like that. Planning on being an architect fairly soon, so I'm getting there quite high up. And a big part of that job is reverse engineering. So you basically reverse engineering processes and patterns, and you have to have a very good logical mind to do it. I mean, I'm not the best at it by any means, but I'm pretty good at it. It pays the bills. And so I reached a point in 2015, I think it was, 2014, 2015, where this thing has kept on bugging me, and I thought, well, I've been doing some big projects at work. I've been given quite a lot of responsibilities to do these big engineering projects. Why don't I just see if I could figure this out, just to see what I could find, So I hired out a place called 30 East Drive, which is reported or voted to be the most violent poltergeist in the UK. And I thought, okay, well, I'll just give that a try and just see if I spot anything, you know. So I did. I went there and stayed there 4 or 5 days. I took a camera crew so I could watch everything and play it back and just see if I could spot anything. And within 15 minutes of being in the building, something really crazy happened. We're all upstairs, and I just said, "Is anyone there?" And the downstairs coal shed door banged 8 times, like this. And this is like a sealed door inside the building, and in a locked house. And you go down there, and there's no one there, and there's no way in, there's no way out. And it was crazy because we got it on tape as well. We got it on audio tape. And that was like, oh my God, you know, when you actually experience it that for, you know, that close in front of you, you think this is going to be a long 4 days, really. And it was. I didn't get any sleep for 4 or 5 days. It was crazy. And for that period, we saw lots of like poltergeist effects, banging, scratching, marbles bouncing off walls, marbles appearing out of nowhere, just all over the house. Electrical effects, cameras breaking, cameras being thrown off walls, even though they're stuck GoPro adhesive on mirrors, of all things. There were all these crazy effects. And then on the 4th day, I started getting brain swelling. My brain started swelling inside my skull, and I could feel it, and it was awful. I never felt anything like it. And I got a point where I couldn't even think. It was horrible. And then when we finally left on the 5th day, I got home, and the next day I felt absolutely awful. It felt like you've been sunburnt on the inside, and your whole brain and body is completely torn up inside. Like you can't think. I'd lost my night vision. I couldn't see very well in the dark. You feel very compromised is the word. And I never felt that way before, and I could never figure out what it was. So about 6 months later, I started looking through all the footage and started, trying to think of it a bit more clearer, see if I could spot anything, because none of it made any sense to me. It didn't. What I noticed very quickly was the patterns of behavior, what was being witnessed in the house and what other people were witnessing in the building, were not human behaviors. They just weren't human behaviors. They were machine behaviors. And what I mean by that is that they replicate and reproduce, and they have the same patterns each time. It just occurs randomly or seemingly randomly. And with that, I just kept on looking through all my footage I had. And then I was literally giving up on it because I really couldn't work it out. And then finally someone sent me a picture, and when I boosted it up, I saw these small silver spheres hovering off the floor. And you've got the picture in your files.
Okay, so you see these spheres.
Yes. So, and when I saw that, it was like all the data points in my head that I've been thinking about and trying to construct, and it all came into place. It all clicked together like a jigsaw puzzle. And in fact, when I realized it was quite overwhelming, because I actually started shaking when I realized it. It was like overwhelming, like it hit me so hard. Because it all made sense, because what you're dealing with is these are small silver spheres, which I class as type 3. They're operating in buildings. And what they're doing is they appear to be AI-based drones. And what they're doing is that they act like a satellite, but in reverse. They're basically producing high-energy signals, data relaying. And when they do that, they cause emissions, which then, in turn, means that they have to perform actions to move people away, which is in alignment with the inverse square law of radiation, which means the further you are away from the object or from the transmission, the safer it becomes. And this is why when I felt that way, and other people felt the way as well, all the symptoms that I had and what other people have is consistent with low dose radiation poisoning. So this is what's happening. So these objects are in the building, and they're acting, as I said, like relay systems, and they're in every single haunted building around the world. If you actually map, when I realized that these things were little drones, when I figured, well, what does a drone need? It needs a network, it needs AI, and it needs a high energy power source. They also need to relay, to receive and send signals. So once you have that and you see that for what it is, you realize what poltergeist activity really is. So this is why it switches on and switches off when it needs to. And it doesn't matter what you do or say or try to provoke it, nothing will happen. It will happen, say, on a Sunday night, nothing for a week, and it'll happen again the following Wednesday. And the mainstream media and production companies and people in general, they have misidentified this as dead people, evil spirits, and whatnot. It's not. It's an AI-based communication network. So it's
the spheres, right? You're saying there's no ghost, like,
no,
the souls of human bodies, right? That have gone from this world, living in this other, it's not that. It's these spheres that are causing this stuff. Yeah, it's been misinterpreted. What about people that talk to people from the past, like mediums who talk to people who are in the afterlife?
I don't know. I mean, maybe there's something else. I mean, what I'm analyzing is poltergeist activity specifically. So because that's the most common thing and that keeps reoccurring, it's the most obvious. It's the most easiest to test if you get.
But so you're not saying there isn't an afterlife.
No.
You're just saying the poltergeist activity has been mislabeled as being part of this afterlife. But you're saying no, it's these spheres specifically, right?
Correct.
More.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well,
so then you say like, so you ask the question, why is it banging the coal shed door when I was upstairs? And in fact, I'm going to explain that. So if you look at the diagrams, bring the diagram up. So if we look at the diagram, on the left is ground floor, on the top of the right is the first floor. And the sphere itself is operating in the attic on the first floor above the stairs. And what's happening is that when it relays, it's banging the coal shed door, which is on the ground floor, which if you look at the layout of the house, is the most shielded part of the building.
Interesting.
So when it broadcasts, it has to go through 1, 2, 3, 4 walls, which will block the signatures, block the emissions. So what it's doing is it's banging the door. Everyone goes down there to see what's going on, and then it's safe to broadcast, which again is in alignment with the inverse square law of radiation. The further you are from the source, the safer it is.
So you're saying essentially that there was two spheres that were sort of connecting, and the door was in the way of that, and so it's just moving because of that, not like on purpose. They're not trying to bang the door 8 times.
No. The type 3 in the building is trying to relay up to the type 2s. And when it does that, it produces high energy emissions and it moves people away. So it uses its propulsion system to direct force on objects like the door. Then it'll create noise, like a banging noise or a movement.
Oh, so it is trying to bang the noise to make the people go away, kind of scare them, essentially, right?
That's
okay, I see what you're saying.
And these objects are transmedium, so they can fly through walls. So they'll just fly through the wall, bang the door, and fly back up again while you're doing the long route around. And that's what it's supposed to be doing. So when these things are relaying, when the type 3s are relaying, again, they need a network. So if you map all the haunted houses in the UK, for example, you'll notice that they operate in lines and clusters. So there'll be one here, one here, one here, and one here, or like this. And what that replicates or is very close to, or very closely mirrors, is our own microwave-based communication networks. So what it's doing is jumping point-to-point relaying, and it's similar distance apart. It also works around environmental topology as well. So if there's a hill here, it'll have one here and then one at the top. So it's actually, with this in mind, it's possible to locate new areas that no one knew were actually active, because you just follow the path.